This happened to me years ago when I was in college. I had 3 good friends, all guys. We did everything together, and we were very close. We also loved to go hunting, especially for deer. We would take turns at whose cabin we were going to stay at and whose car we were going to use to get there. But this particular time, it was my turn to host and my turn to drive us there. So I got my beat-up old pickup truck ready, and we loaded it up with our guns, our bows, some knives, and plenty of ammo. We headed out before sunrise, and we got to the cabin around noon. The plan was to relax for the rest of the day, have a good night's sleep, and start hunting bright and early in the morning. When we arrived, I let the guys in and they started to explore while I unloaded the truck. When they came back, we walked into the woods behind the cabin to see what kind of tracks we could find. We didn't find anything, and we were about to head back when one of my friends spotted something strange lying in the bushes. It was small, no bigger than a trash can, covered in leaves and branches, and it was unlike anything that we had ever seen before. My other 2 friends weren't as excited as I was. They were both skeptics, and they didn't want to waste their time with something stupid like this. I begged them to just come take a look, so they finally agreed. As we got closer to the object in the bushes, we could see that it had 4 legs, sort of like a spider or an insect. There were also these weird protrusions from the top of the legs, but we couldn't make out anything else because it was completely covered. As we got even closer, we saw that there was a slight movement in the thing, like something was breathing inside of it. We decided that we should probably call the police rather than deal with whatever this thing was. So we went back to the truck, called the police, and waited. When the police showed up, they searched the area but didn't find anything. They told us that if we found something like that again, we should definitely call them right away. We thanked them and watched as they drove away. Then we went back into the woods to look for the thing again. We couldn't find it anywhere. And by that point it was getting dark, so we headed back to the cabin. The next day after, of course, not sleeping at all, we woke up early and went out to hunt. Both of my friends had taken their bows with them because they said that they wanted to try to get some target practice in. I opted to take my rifle instead. We hadn't been walking long when my friend, who was the biggest skeptic of the 3 of us, spotted the same creature from the day before walking in the forest. He immediately started yelling at us to come look, and we all stopped in our tracks to stare at the gray alien. It wasn't as big as some of the ones that I've seen described in other stories, but it was definitely gray in color, had huge black eyes, and was hunched over like an old man. It saw us looking at it and turned its head towards us. I swear that those eyes were huge. They took up half of its face. It blinked slowly and then took off running in the opposite direction. We yelled and screamed and started shooting at it, but nothing seemed to be able to stop it. It was moving way too fast, and before we knew it, it disappeared over a hill and was gone. At this point, my 2 friends were scared enough that they wanted to go home, so we packed up our stuff and headed back to my truck. On the way, we were making plans to tell everyone in town about what we had seen, but no one would believe us. We made it back to the truck without seeing anything else strange, so we got in and started driving home. About halfway there, we stopped for gas, and that's when things got really weird. When we got out of the truck, I noticed these strange round marks on the ground surrounding the pump. I don't remember exactly how many there were, but I remember thinking that it looked like the marks that a UFO might leave in the grass. One of my friends started taking pictures of them, which is actually how I have the photos to show you guys today. I don't know why he thought that would be a good idea because they just ended up looking like random circles in a parking lot. But he kept insisting that we would be famous if we ever proved that aliens had visited Earth. We filled up the tank, used the bathroom, and headed out. About 20 minutes later, we stopped again for some reason. I don't remember what that stop was for, but I do remember getting out of the truck and seeing another set of strange marks in the ground. This time, they were in a perfect circle, and there were more of them. Again, I don't remember exactly how many there were, but they looked like someone had stamped their feet in a circle several times. My friend insisted on taking more pictures, but this time He took a picture of me standing in the middle of them so that we would know the scale of the marks. We got back in the truck and finished the drive without incident. The next couple of days were spent telling everyone in town what we had seen. No one believed us, though. They all thought that we were crazy or making it up for attention. My two friends gave up on trying to convince people, but I kept insisting that it was true. I still have the photos on my phone, although they're really bad. The truth is that I never thought anyone would believe me anyway, so I wasn't really trying to convince them. I was just trying to keep the memory alive. That was until a few months later when I got a call from a local news station. I had given them permission to use my name and my story in an article about alleged Bigfoot sightings in the area. Apparently, my story caught the attention of an alien researcher who was visiting the area to investigate. She read the article and called me up to ask if I would be willing to share my story with her. I agreed, and we scheduled an interview. She came to my house and asked me tons of questions about what I had seen, shown her the photos, and gave me $100 for my time. At first, I thought that maybe she would actually help me get the word out about what I had seen, but that wasn't the case. She paid me, thanked me for my time, and left. A few weeks later, I found out that she had written a story about me and published it on her website. The worst part was that she had made the whole thing sound like a hoax. She wrote about how I had admitted to making the whole thing up with my friends and how we had put those marks in the ground ourselves. To be honest, I was pretty upset, but there was nothing I could do about it. I was just some guy from a small town, and she was an alien researcher with a website. I never heard from her again, but I will never forget what she did to me. Now, some people say that I'm a liar and that I never saw a real gray alien, but I know what I saw. I may not have the best story or the best evidence, but I know that I'm telling the truth. That being said, I think that I can speak for my two friends and say that we will never, ever go into the woods again. We live in constant fear of running into that thing again. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time.